Welcome back, everybody. So let's get into the orchid part of our painting. So we want to develop our flowers in the foreground, and that is what I'm going to focus on in this session. So I'm just going to stick my reference here in front of me. Sorry for bumping my camera. And I thought that we will need yellow ochre for that, but before we can paint it, we need to draw it. We need to just get our reference material out and begin to just draw in our orchids. Okay. Take a deep breath in again and out. No pressure, seriously. All the pressure is on me to try and produce this for you guys. But if I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm of the opinion. Okay, so let's look at the orchid on the left-hand side. And I see that the head petal or the top petal goes into the bushes here, just. So I just sort of want to give myself an indication of where that would be, and it's going slightly off the canvas there. So I'm just using my white chalk pencil here to just draw in the shapes of the orchid leaves here. Now I've painted a bit of them, I've painted a number of orchids, let me speak correctly. And so I'm a little bit more familiar with the shape of these petals. I do feel like it needs to come in a bit further. But this is the absolute blessing of working here with a bit of whiteboard chalk. Just trying to see very nicely here. Because if anything isn't, this is a bit higher, that's why. Anything that isn't right, you can fix. Just wet a brush or get a tissue, and then you can remove any of the lines that you are not happy with. There we go. Alrighty then. And then we have basically that little petal there. And then we have a stem coming down off the page here. Then our next orchid is sitting here right in front of this one. And the top petal is just giving us a bit of space between the two. And this is coming down here. And the little crown of this orchid is sitting here with these two little lips. I'm gonna call it lips. You don't have to draw a lot of detail because we're gonna paint over it now, but it is a good opportunity for you to just familiarize yourself a little bit with the structure of the flower. Nice. This comes in round about here. There we go. That looks pretty. Now this one goes slightly diagonal there, but it might be a bit higher, more there. because the petal looks like it's turned slightly to the side. And then we have these smaller petals underneath. And there's probably a stem there as well. We don't really see that stem. Okay, that feels nice. Let me just sort of brighten everything up here a little bit. Nicely. Okay, that position is right. This feels right to me. Then there's a little one here in the background above it. The stem is connecting with that petal there. And we have a basic round shape and the little head one. Like that. That's nice. There's a tiny one underneath here as well. That's very vague, but you almost just see the, what shall we call it, the perimeter of the flower. Right, over here we have a beautiful bud that is going to open. Like that, nice and big with a little bit of a stem, and right next to it we have another flower. Now a little tip I can give you, if you focus on where the crown or the most center part of a flower is, if you can determine that point, then from there it's much easier to look at the shape of the petals in relation to that, because everything is growing basically from that central point. So if you can determine that, that should be a good guiding light for you. My flower is a little bit closer to this little bud, but that's okay, it's my world. And then there is also a stem coming out of that, like that. Then let's focus on the big one on the right, and its head petal is coming just beneath. It's a bit lower than the one on the left. And why I start with that is just I want to just make sure that I get the point where it will finish down, and then find that little nozzle, I'm gonna call it. I don't know what you call that. And then we go over here. And it goes back in, and then there's this beautiful part of it. Two little landing pads. And this is also going off canvas. And then this beautiful side one here, and another one is going off canvas. You can make that one a bit bigger. And then a beautiful stem coming down. And then we have a little one over here, and I'm going to start with its little crown here. And it's sort of facing towards the center of the canvas. So that foreshortens the left side petal. Nice. And that comes down. And then just behind this top part of that petal, there's a nice big head of a flower there as well, but it's just in the background. Alrighty then, that wasn't too hard, everyone. So we've plotted in our main flowers in the front, and I'm quite happy with that. I think we can make this one a little bit bigger. Just a little bit. So I'm just gonna take out what doesn't serve me. So when we look at our painting process here, I don't want to go into a full, you know, what shall we call it, coaching session here, but what I did want to say is, have you noticed how the art process that you are working with on your canvas is so much like life? It's the original vision and idea, and you know, when you work in your pencil, then you realize, okay, something needs to shift, something needs to change. And when you make those subtle changes, the picture becomes more balanced, more beautiful, and I like that. So yeah, just again, it's just a reminder that, you know, life is pretty much like art, and it's a constant push and a pull. While you create and while you are creating, you sometimes need to adjust and make some changes, and to be open and flexible enough and relaxed enough to make those changes, because it's not the end of the world. You can keep fiddling with it until you're happy. That's why I encourage you to first work with a temporary medium like chalk or charcoal or something like that you can erase and lift off until you're happy with the shapes, because that's going to pretty much determine how you're going to apply your paint to that area. Okay, so let's get into that. So I've got here, what is this? A size 10 filbert for you guys. And I'm just seeing, you know, petal wise, is this going to be too big? Is it going to be too small? I think for the back ones, I'll switch to a smaller brush. This one, a smaller filbert for the brush, the flowers in the background, so that we don't get stuck using a big brush for small details. Now what I'm going to do, you have options. Normally I would have painted this white first so that we have all of that vibrancy, but these orchids are pretty much yellow, but I do want a bit of a deeper yellow so that there's, you know, space for brighter yellow and lighter yellows. So I'm going to start with my yellow ochre as a good foundation, and I'm going to put out a bit of fresh paint here next to my orange. Let's give it a mist. It's nice and hot in my studio. The air conditioner is running, so just to keep everything moist and easy to apply. So what we're going to do now we are basically going to block in our orchids and give it a presence, pretty much like we did with the skies, the lights in the sky. So let's activate our brush with a bit of clean water. And I'm using my tissue on the side just to dab off the excess water. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to make my yellow ochre a little bit deeper. I'm going to bring in a little bit of, I need a little bit of violet actually. Let me just grab my violet. The reason why I want to add violet to the mix here is violet is the opposite color to yellow. If I can get my violet. There we go. So I need a bit of a contrasting color. I nearly used the Prussian blue, which is violet, but blue and yellow makes green. I don't want green now. So I'm just going to put a bit of violet out. I'm going to need very little. Let me just move all of these brushes to the other side so that you guys can also see what I'm doing with the mixes here. And I'm going to add a little bit of this violet into my yellow ochre, and it browns it down quite a bit, but that's exactly what I want to happen. We're going to need a bit more. Adding a bit more violet to it, so it sort of makes a bit of a beigey brown. Let's add a little bit more. There we go. Just rolling my brush in my paint and loading it again. There we've got a very nice deeper ochre color that we're going to use now to basically just block in our shape. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start here with this main flower over here. That's nice. And I'm just going to mimic the shapes of my petal. Leaving a little space between each of these shapes just to help me identify going forward what I have created here. Nice. I'll do the stem just now. Let's move on to the next one. Awesome. Keeping things very simple. At least I'm trying to. Remember, we're going to go over this. There are plenty of layers in this little in all of these orchids, so as we develop the color, we will also work on the shape inside. Looking at the, okay, I'm going to do that with a small brush. Let's do this one, at least we try to. So sort of working with a bigger brush, it already sort of helps you not to, look at too much detail in the beginning, but really just to focus more on the shape. This one is also almost too small for me, so I'm going to switch to the bigger one. Oh, we had a quick power failure there for a second. I hope everything's still running. I'm happy to report that we haven't had load shedding since the election in May. We've had a lot of interruptions, but not load shedding. So I'm so grateful for that. It really is very frustrating if you're trying to earn a living and, you know, make your life without power. So there's a lot to be grateful for. Okay. I'm going to put that in the water and grab my smaller filbert. Let me activate it with water. Take off the excess. Shame, this poor brush has seen better days. But anyway, we press ahead. No, that's way too much. Here we go. Okay, just working on this top petal a little bit. Here we go. Now this little one in the back. And I'm going to turn this little brush sideways as I paint in the stems. Oh yes, also a little orchid I forgot about. So let's quickly paint it in. Now it's this little bud. This is a total fantasy bud because this is not how orchids grow. They don't grow as standing flowers like this. They are on a mother plant and they're actually hanging flowers. So you can see why I say this is a total fantasy. The orchids doesn't grow like this, but in this reality it does. Let's work at the small one here as well. This is so exciting for me. I know I say this all the time, and it's really not for lack of terminology. It's just I really get so excited when I am in a creation mode, and even more so when I share with you guys. It's a lot of fun. I feel a lot of fulfillment and joy when I'm able to share my craft with fellow artists. And one of the reasons why it's so joyful for me, why I find it so rewarding, is because if you know my story at all, I've had so many doors in my life shut in my face. Things that I was hoping for, dreaming about, and art was one of them. And for many years in my life, I didn't paint because I was blocked with this whole idea of I need to go to university or to college or some kind of art school, and I don't have the funds to enroll and to support myself. My parents and my siblings couldn't help me. I didn't get accepted into the art academy that I did apply for at the time because I didn't have art in school, so my art technique wasn't developed enough. And there's so many students that year that applied for art, and I actually wanted to study textile design. And I was so focused and hopeful about that, and then when I heard I didn't make the cut, I was devastated. And I think for many years I just blocked it out. So I ended up studying hairdressing, and I think I sort of channeled all of my creative energy in hairdressing. And I'm very grateful for hairdressing because it became my foundation. It is putting bread and butter on my table every day. And so for the last 14 years, at some stage I realized, come on, I have to wake up. There's nothing stopping me from painting. And it's been a journey up until here. So all of the brush marks and brush mileage and brush experience that I do have is because I practice. And with every painting, it gets better, more beautiful, and I'm more daring, and I'm trying something new every time. And one of the best ways I've learned through hairdressing as well to teach yourself is to teach others. Because the minute you have to explain it to someone else, even though you don't quite know exactly what you are doing, it sort of brings you very present, and it opens you up to your intuition and your higher self. And as you explain the little bit that you know to someone else and you demonstrate it, you are growing in your own skill and ability. And that's how I got to where I am today. 14 years later, painting almost every day of my life has radically shifted my ability as a painter. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful that I can share it with you guys. So in sharing with you, we blocked in our orchids. That's amazing. So I'm going to stop it there, just to give you also an opportunity to catch up with me. I'm trying to sort of make it bite sizes, otherwise it feels like it's running away with you. So get out your yellow ochre and let's block in our orchid positions, and that will already be a great step forward towards painting them. So in our next section, what I'm going to do is we're going to start to develop these orchids into the beauty that they are. However long that's going to take us, that's okay. It's a multitude of layers. And once we've done that, I'm sure we're going to get into our dragonfly. So I'll see you in the next session.